To tonight's original now, with in-depth reporting on a topic we've been keeping an eye on. Even though the economy is feeling a little bit weird right now because of inflation, what you've seen in the jobs market, claims falling for the 5th week in a row. And by now, you've probably heard of this new work trend, quiet quitting, a.k.a. doing your job, but doing exactly just your job, right? Not going above and beyond because you're looking for a better work-life balance. But there's this new trend we're talking about, kind of on the opposite end of the work-life balance debate, called FatFire. The idea is do what it takes, work your butt off, get rich real fast, and then retire. Be done. Fire yourself from your own career and be free. Jake Ward has the story.
Meet Toronto area native Jim Chong. He's a semi-retired former entrepreneur who uses TikTok to share financial literacy tips. And by the time he turned 40, he made enough money to live comfortably without needing to work for the rest of his life. It's being dubbed FatFire, a growing movement where folks hustle, accrue wealth quickly, and retire early with big money.
FatFire is a process and lifestyle where you organize things in a way so that you don't need to work sometime in the future, sooner than later.
FIRE stands for Financial Independence Retire Early. FAT means retiring with a big nest egg.
If we keep going like this, it's not sustainable.
Dave McKeown runs a consultancy that helps leaders achieve their goals.
With the FatFire movement, that's essentially saying, okay, we see that the system's broken, but rather than just feeling like we're on a hamster wheel for the next number of years, why don't we actually try to do something about it?
This movement is growing. A subreddit community to discuss FatFire tips has reached about 330,000 members. Jim was not born into wealth. He got his first job at age 14, washing dishes for $4 an hour. By the mid-90s, he'd launched a company that helped other businesses get on the internet. He then joined a Fortune 500 company, and later he learned how to invest his earnings. He says there are 4 steps to achieving FatFire status.
One is to reduce your cost of living. Next is increase your ability to earn. The third is to know how to use the money. And the fourth is protection.
Many FatFirers learn to live below their means, in some cases far below. Like, say, instead of renting their own place, they live with a roommate.
Now it seems the millennials are sort of waking up, especially during the pandemic, and thinking, what am I grinding for? What does my future look like? And do I want it to be exactly the same as the boomers?
49% of workers are not thriving and not engaged at work, according to a recent Gallup survey.
You hear about the quiet quitters, where essentially folks are basically saying, look, I'm just going to go back to doing my job. No more, no less, not enough for me to get written up for, but certainly not enough for me to get any promotions.
But the FatFire movement is not for everyone.
There's a lot of people that have that ingrained sense of work equals purpose.
Dana Menard says abandoning the sense of purpose a job can give you can have a negative effect on people's psychology.
When your purpose has been the job and the work that you do for so long, and then you have nothing there, it's a really, really tough mental gap.
Now, here's the thing. Many Americans find it difficult to even think about retiring because of their health care costs, inflation, food, you name it.
They think retiring is a miracle. So when I started, the goal actually wasn't to retire early. It was just to have enough money so that I had the freedom to work or not work. That was it.
Jake is joining us now. And Jake, I have long been fascinated by the FIRE movement, right? Whether it's FatFire in different ways, but one of the things that it requires, and you alluded to this, is truly very much, a lot of people living very much below your means, right? Being extremely frugal in the short term, because the thinking is it pays off in the long term. But there is an inherent, you kind of have to have a decent job to do that in the first place, right? Because you can only save so much money if you're making a decent amount of money.
That's absolutely right, Hallie. I mean, there's no coincidence that this movement took off here in the Bay Area around Silicon Valley, where, you know, if you are just out of college and you're starting as a coder at a company like Meta or any of the other big tech companies, you know, you could be pulling down $200,000 as an entry-level salary. So let's say that you do decide at that point, you know what, I'm only going to do 10 years of this and then I'm going to retire. You can do that. I mean, the math is pretty simple, right? You put away, let's say, even half of that for those 10 years. At the end of that, you put that into a Vanguard fund. You're pulling down an $80,000 income every year just by sitting around. So if this is not something that, nurses and firefighters and police officers and teachers are doing, right? And at this point, a recent Pew survey suggests that roughly half of Americans can't put together even a few hundred extra dollars in cash in an emergency. So we don't want to mislead anybody that this is some sort of miraculous strategic thing. But if you combine a really good salary, like so many of these folks have, plus a strategic mindset and the ability to just say, you know what, I'm going to spend almost nothing. I'm going to bring lunch every day. I'm going to never do anything else except the bare minimum in terms of expenditure. Then you can make it work. But this, we don't want to mislead anybody. This isn't for anybody. I think it says more about the state of the economy and the incredible range of opportunity in this economy than it does about the potential for all of us to, get into something like this, Hallie.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.